Hey everyone, welcome to the Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness podcast. I'm Stephanie, a book loving, notebook hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of books and notebooks as tools for wellness. Reading and writing can help us feel better and make life better too, and I'll show you how I do it. You'll find episodes exploring the research behind reading and writing for wellness, practical strategies to embrace your own restorative reading and writing, and you'll meet authors and special guests who help us take inspired actions in our own daily practices too. So grab a notebook and your TBR list and let's dive into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness. I'm Stephanie Affinito, and I'm here with another episode in our summer restorative reading and writing series. Now, if you missed the first episode in the series last week, I highly recommend you go back and press play because I'm strategically stacking these episodes throughout the summer to help you build your reading and writing habits, tend to your reading and writing hearts, and then build those communities and take that inspired action that can help make life better. Last week, we talked about the importance of tiny restorative rituals. Now, I've been practicing my own tiny restorative reading and writing rituals, and I thought I would share which ones are working really well right now for me before we jump into the episode. So the one I think I love the most is my morning reading. This is where I start at about 5 a.m. at my kitchen table next to the window where the light starts to peek through with my cup of coffee, my book that feels really good, and I just read for at least 10 minutes to help start the day feeling calm and to help start the day feeling like I'm not like in a rush. If the first thing I do is take time for myself, that sends a signal to our nervous system, to my nervous system, that I don't have to rush today. There is plenty of time for all of it. And so far, that has been my favorite tiny ritual. My second tiny ritual comes at night. That's where I grab my 5-year journal. I go down to my desk where I keep it front and center so I can't miss it. And I think about the day. I think about one nugget I want to hold on to. I grab a colorful gel pen and I write in my 5-year journal to feel full of gratitude and presence and happiness. And the third one that's working really well for me doesn't actually involve reading and writing, but it is certainly a restorative literate practice. And that's an anytime ritual. When I just need a reset, I go upstairs from my office usually. I go to the kitchen, I open up my oil diffuser, and I put in a couple of drops of oil of whatever I think I need or feels really good. I press the button to get it diffusing, and I just stand there really close to it and breathe in that essential oil. And I start repeating some of the affirmations that I have collected over the years, over the month in my notebook, some of my favorites, to just help me get that physical and that mental reset. Those 3 restorative practices are doing their job. I can feel them. They feel good. I feel good. And I hope that if you haven't found a tiny restorative ritual that works for you yet, that you just go ahead and borrow one of mine. Now, today, though, we are moving into how we might read and write in that tiny restorative practice. And it's a shift, right? Because so quickly, summer, which is supposed to be fun and relaxing and playful and restorative, it can become another season of pressure, right? Pressure to read more books, do more things, check the list off the bucket lists, especially if you are an educator, right? Where summer is where you have time off from the busyness of the year. We usually make it busy about something else, right? There's another job that we have to get. There's the projects from school we're going to complete. There's all the things around our home that we wanted to get to during the year, but we couldn't because we were working. Summer can become a season of stress. And here's what I want to say. What if this summer wasn't about doing more for us? What if it wasn't about getting things done? What if it was actually purposely, intentionally, even though it can be really hard, about moving more slowly? And so that's what I want to offer you today. I want to offer you and me, I want to offer us permission to read and write at the pace our life actually needs and wants. Not what our productive mind says we need to do, but at the pace our life, our bodies, our minds actually needs. That sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, let's think about it. What would slow reading really look like? It might be reading one chapter and then sitting with it for a few minutes and being done. It might be reading and finding one beautiful sentence that you just want to linger over. Read again and again and again and jot it down in your journal and maybe even write in your notebook because it's sparking some sort of emotion in you. It might be getting out a book that won't count on your reading log because you've read it before and rereading it or rereading your favorite passages from it. It might be choosing a book based on what you need, a book in your book apothecary rather than a book that your book club says you should read, even mine, or Reese or Jenna or anybody else who says you should be reading this book right now. It's about letting a book accompany your life rather than rushing to finish it. And I'm raising my hand here. I do this. I read one book and I quickly go to the next. Sometimes I cram in a quick book review because I feel guilty about not doing it. And then just keep going and going and going because there are so many books to read, so little time, and I want to share them all with everyone. But that means my own personal restorative reading and writing life takes a hit. And so this is especially for me this summer. I want to read more slowly. What might that book feel like that you've chosen to read if you stop trying to finish it and just spent time with it? Right? If our reading goals were thrown out the window and instead we just looked at our books as these companions that stayed with us as long as we needed them. It didn't matter how many companions we had or how quickly we whipped through companions, right? That's not how friendship works. It's about staying with it, letting it sink into your skin, letting it marinate in your spirit, and letting it change your life. That's what slow reading could look like. Now, what about slow writing? Maybe you're trying to lean into your writing life just as much or even more than your reading life. Well, slow writing might look like a whole session of writing at your kitchen table with your favorite notebook, but only writing one sentence and just sitting with it, thinking about it. Maybe it's writing that same sentence over and over again. That's writing. That counts. What if it's just capturing a single observation from your day and that's it? And you just spend a few minutes reliving that wonderful moment in your mind and flooding your body with those feel-good chemicals, but only have one sentence on the page. It's okay. Maybe you pull in your reading into your writing and you pull one of those quotes that really resonated with you and you just decide to write a few lines in response to it. You don't finish a prompt, you don't finish a page, you don't get to a certain amount of sentences, and that's okay. Maybe your notebook just keeps you company with your thoughts. And sometimes that's words, and sometimes it's doodles, sometimes it's scribbles, and sometimes it's images, and sometimes you're pasting things in and peeling the backs off of stickers and sticking them down. All of that counts. And maybe you don't end up with a finished page. Maybe you don't end up with what Julia Cameron says we should have, which are three long form pages, which, by the way, I never do, and it's still just as powerful. Maybe our writing this summer doesn't have to produce something. It doesn't have to get to a certain place. Maybe writing's purpose this summer is to just help us notice, to process, to remember, to breathe, to be still, and most importantly, in the summer season, to just be present. So I want this episode to offer you a permission slip. Here's what you have permission to do this summer. And as I give you these short little affirmations of permission, I recommend that you say them inside your own head or maybe even say them out loud because it's going to take some work to get these to stick for all of us who have very type A, Gretchen Rubin upholder, perfectionistic personalities. Okay, maybe you even play this more than once. This summer, you have permission to quit books that aren't serving you. Read children's books as an adult. Read the same book twice. Write badly. Write only a line or a few lines. Spend more time noticing with the page in front of you instead of producing. You have permission to take a day off, to take a week off. You have permission to follow your curiosity wherever it goes. And if it ends up on the page or from a page, great. And if not, that's okay too. The idea is to spark action in our regular, actual lives. You also have permission to read for comfort and write for yourself, no matter what it looks like, how long you got to on the page, or how many pages you turned. This is our season for a restorative reading and writing practice. So here's something I want to offer you. If you don't know what it might feel like to read slowly or write slowly, I want to offer you a quick little suggestion that helps you do both together. A really simple ritual that you might adopt in the spirit of last week of adopting a tiny restorative ritual. Here's what you could do. Grab your book, read for 6 to 10 minutes, or however many minutes you have. As you read, be on the lookout with eyes and hearts wide open for a line that stays with you, a line that jumps out at you, a line that tugs at your heart, whether in a positive way, a negative way, or just in a lyrical way. Stop, pause, move slowly, and copy that line into your notebook. You might put it at the top of the page with the quote, the title, and the author, and then just write in response to that. You can write long form, you can write in bits and phrases, you can write a listicle. What do I notice? What do I wonder? What do I need? Maybe you talk about all three of those things. Maybe you just grab one. That's enough. A little bit of reading, a line that you capture, and a little snippet of writing. And here's the best part. You can repeat this. You can keep going if you have more time and start to train your body to read slowly, to really envelope the words into our bodies and marinate them in, cement them in. It's like savasana in yoga, where you just lay on the mat and let your body soak in the practice. This is what we're doing here. So let me repeat that very tiny ritual you could try. Read for a couple of minutes. Choose a line that stays with you. Copy it into your notebook and write in response to it. That's it. That's enough. And repeat for as many times as you want, as often as you want. Doesn't that sound good this summer? Summer just invites us to slow down in ways that other seasons don't. And it's important to not try to make the most of it in a way that is going to stress you out or make you feel over overworked or overproductive, right? The most important thing that we read this summer may not be the most impressive book that everybody else is. And the most important thing we write, you might not actually share with anybody. It is privately tucked into the pages of your own personal notebook. But both reading and writing can become really important tools for how we care for and nourish ourselves. So, what would change in your current reading and writing life if you trusted that a slower reading and writing life was enough for you? What would change in your reading and writing life if you trusted that a slower reading and writing life were enough for you? If you'd like to share, your response to that question, you can send me a private message. You can comment on the show notes to this episode or head right to Substack and put them in the notes for the episode. I would love to hear your response to that question and anything else you want to share. Maybe a book that you're choosing to read slowly this summer. Maybe a notebook practice that you are keeping all to yourself that is helping you slow down. Or maybe you just want to share what you want to give permission for yourself to do this season. Writing it down, putting it out there is one way that we can better reach it. And if you'd like support in doing this, as always, our restorative reading and writing circle on Substack is here to remind you to have the best restorative summer season yet. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this shorter episode to spark longer practices of reading and writing or tinier practices that are slow and restorative and nourishing. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Get Literate Substack community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and much more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content, too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. But there's one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and no bookish community, too. Thanks for listening, everyone.